The CSEC May-June 2017, paper 2. Okay. This is the paper we are doing. For those of you all who don't have the paper, I'll put the link down in the description so you all can download it. Try the questions before my next live, because in my next live, I'll be doing section 2. This live, we'll be focusing on section 1. We'll be answering the first 3 questions in this paper. So this is our question. Rahali Security Enterprise buys and sells security devices only on credit during the month of May. They provided us with the accounting information here, and the question is asking us to list at least 2 journals. List at least 2 journals that we can record this information. The amount owed to accounts payable on the 1st of May was $2,390. Credit purchases for the month totaled $24,560. Defective devices returned to sellers were valued at $230. A debtor creditor of $8,770 was settled by check for $8,300. Amount owed to accounts payable on the 31st of May was $4,900. Credit sales for the same month totaled $55,460. Discount allowed during a week-long sale was $250. Accounts receivable on the 31st of May was $6,170. Amount paid by accounts receivable totaled $53,140. Now, these are the transactions. Now, the amount owed to accounts payable on the 1st of May was $2,390. So the question is, what journal would we record this information in? This information would be recorded in the purchases journal. Okay. Credit purchases for the month total again. This information would be recorded in the purchases journal. Defective devices returned to the seller. Defective devices returned to the supplier. Okay, this type of information, this transaction would actually be recorded in the return outwards journal. A debtor creditor was settled by check, payment by check. This entry will be recorded in the cash book. Amount owed to accounts payable, another transaction that will be recorded in the purchases journal. Credit sales, this information is for the sales journal. Discount allowed during a week-long sale, this information will be recorded in the cash book. Accounts receivable, this information would be recorded in the, is anybody on my live tonight? Hi Patricia. Hi Fatima. How are you all? Nice to see you all. We have accounts receivable, amounts paid by accounts receivable information for our sales journal. Okay. Now the question asks us to list any 2 journals, and I listed the purchases and the sales journal. Okay. You could have included the return outwards journal as well. That would have been a good option for this question. Okay. Let's continue on to part B of this question. Sorry, this question has a second part for A. And the second part of this question, again, I'm going back to the past paper to show you all it. Again, some of you all may not have this paper, so I'd like to show you all the questions. This is the first question we just did. The link will be in the description for you all. We just answered A1, the first question for part A. We have A2. And this question says, using the information on page 4, prepare the accounts payable control account for Rahali Security for the month ended May 2017. Be sure to label the balance and figure in your answer. Okay, so we are going to create an accounts payable control account. We are going to create the purchases controls account. So let's do that. What information is necessary for our purchases controls account? I have a list of things here for some of you who may not remember how to do a control account, a purchases control and the sales control account. Okay, you must have your creditors. They'll give you your purchases, credit purchases, return outwards, checks paid, cash paid, closing creditors. All these are important information to include in your purchases controls account. Okay, so we are doing this section here. We're going to focus on the accounts payable controls account. Now, the first thing we have here is the balance brought down, and we have the balance brought down figure. Now, I'm referring to the question that we have on the left of me. Hope you all are seeing my screen clearly. I hope it's not too small. Are you all seeing my screen clearly? Is it too small? I hope you all are seeing it clearly. Okay, good. Right. So accounts purchases, we are doing the purchases controls again. So the balance brought down figure that was given was 2,390. The question is on my left. You can refer to it. That's where I'm getting my figures from. 2,390. That's where I'm getting my figures from. Question is here. The credit purchases figure. Notice I highlighted the information I needed for my purchases control in blue. Okay, so you can look at the information I have in blue. That is the information I need to put into my purchases controls account. Okay, you're not seeing it clearly, so I would zoom up this part of the question that I'm doing. Is this better for you, Maya? Are you seeing clearly now? Okay, so the balance brought down figure is 2,390. The credit purchases figure that was given is 24,560. Maya, are you seeing clearly now? I want to know if you all are seeing clearly. 24,560. The return outwards figure. Yes, you're seeing clearly. Okay, good. Return outwards figure was 230. You all help me add and balance the size. They want us in the question to make sure an underline or balances at the end. Okay, so you all will help me add the transactions on both sides. The bank payment was 8,000. Again, I highlighted all the information for the purchases control in blue. So the bank payment information total is 8,300. The discount received is 470. I'll put the link for this question, for this past paper and more in the description below, so you all can check it out and probably come back to the video for those of you all who have never seen this past paper before. Okay, we also had a balance carried down figure. This figure, we had a balance carried down figure on the 1st of May, that was 2,390, and we have a balance carried down figure again at the end of that period. So it's going, and the figure is 4,900. Okay, and that's all the information that we need to include in our purchases control. Now let's balance. Can anybody tell me what the totals are on both sides? We have to subtract to get our balance carried down figure. So we have to add on the side. What are you getting? Anybody added? What's on my credit side yet? So we are getting, I'm getting 31,850. Double check my math, please. This is live. We want to leave the correct figures for those who may check this out after. 31,850 Okay. So we need to subtract that figure. What is the balance on this side, debit side? We need to subtract this figure from 31,850 to get our balance carried down. Okay. So we are going to get, after we subtract, let's get the figure, please, for some persons who may look at this after. Okay, let's calculate it so they can see. Right, so we have 230 plus 8,300 plus 470. That's giving us 9,000. And we need to subtract 9,000 from 31,850, and we'll get the balance carried down figure. Okay, and that's going to be 22,850. Okay, so this is the balance carried down figure. Now, we need to write our balancing figure on this side. So we have 31,850. Okay, and we are going to have two balance brought down figures. As you can see here, we're going to bring down this figure here. And then we're going to bring down this figure as well here, this 4,900 here on this side. So on this side, we have our balance brought down, first month in the next period, balance brought down figure is going to be 22,850. And then our balance brought down figure on this side is going to be 4,900. Okay, now we are supposed to have our double lines like these. Let me clear this. Okay, so this is the solution for this part. Now, the third part of this question, the third part third part of A, I'm going to scroll a bit to my side. I hope everybody's seen this clearly. I'm going to scroll a bit because the third part of this question, let's go back there, read the question, what the question wants us to do, okay? So the second part of A wanted us to prepare a purchases controls account, an accounts payable controls account. Let us see what the other part of this question wants us to do. The other part of this question wants us to prepare an accounts receivable controls account. So this question wants the sales controls account as well. Okay, so we are going to prepare that. Now again, on my left here, you can see that I highlighted the important information that we need for our sales controls account. Okay, now I am going to scroll a bit. I hope you all are still seeing my screen clearly. I'll just shift it back and forth for us to see the question, to get our figures, to put it in here. Okay, so the credit sales figure, we are doing our sales controls now, our accounts receivable controls on this side. Are we still seeing clearly? Are we still seeing clearly, yeah? Good. So our credit sales figure for this question, credit sales is 55,460. That's it there, so I'm going to write it in. 55,460. The discount allowed figure was 250. It's right here. 250. The cash and bank receipts, the total was 53,140. Again, the question is right here. This is where I'm getting my answers. 53,140. It's coming here. 140, nice. Good, so we had a carry down figure of, we had a carry down figure of 6,100 and accounts receivable payments. Yes, so we have a carry down figure of 6,170. You're going to put that here, 6,170. And that's all the information. See those three figures here? That's all the information. All that I highlighted in green from the question is the information that we need for the accounts receivables controls account. Okay. So now that we have our figures, we are going to add and subtract to get our carry down figure and our balance figure. So 53,140 plus 250 is going to give me a total of 61,630. $61,130 is going to be my figures here. 61,630. Okay. Now we need to subtract this from 53,140 plus 250. We need to subtract that balance from 61,330 to get our carried down figure. All right. And when we subtract, we're going to get our carried down figure to be 8,240. 8,240. Okay. So now let's bring down our balances. Balance brought down on this side is going to be 8,240. Our balance brought down on the other side. Our balance brought down is going to be 6,170. Where did I get that figure from? Are we seeing it? 6,170. Again, I got that from here. See, this is the figure that I brought down here. This is the carry down figure that I brought here. Okay, for those of you who didn't see it, I'm just pointing that out to you all. So this is how my purchases and sales, this is the answer to the purchases and the sales control account. This is the solution for it. Now, the part B of this question is a part B to question 1. We just did all the parts. A1, we had to identify the types of journal. A2, we had to do the purchases controls account. And A3, we had to do the sales controls account. Okay. So now we are going on to part B of question 1. Part B of question 1 reads, on the 31st of March, 2017, the accountant at First Call Transport Company discovers 3 year-end events that require entries in the general journal as follows. So a debtor had paid only 50% of the $3,000 owed to First Call Transport. The money received and the bad debt incurred had already been entered in the ledger. The company is to provide for bad debts at a rate of 2% of accounts receivable of $43,600. The company had paid the sum of $18,000 to its landlord to cover the rent for a year and a half. So again, there are 3 year-end transactions that was not entered into the general journal. So we have to enter that. And here I already ruled up my general journal. I have my space for the date, details, debits, and credit entries. Let's read over the first entry and record it. Now, the past paper says, and let me take you back to this question. The past paper told us that narratives, let me show you. This is the question we are doing, question 1, we're on part B. The question says that narratives are not required for this question. So we'll be writing in the entries, but we would not be writing in any narratives. Why? Because they told us this. Okay, so let's go back and work out the question together. So the first transaction was a debtor had paid only 50% of the $3,000 owed to First Call Transport. The money received and the bad debt incurred had already been entered in the ledger. Now 50% of 3,000 would be 1,500. How are we going to write our answers? In the general journal, it's going to be profit and loss. Is going to debit. The amount is 1,500. And bad debts, they said, and the bad debts incurred had already been entered. So bad debts is going to credit here. And it's going to be 1,500 as well, 1,500. Okay. Now the second entry that was left out, the company is to provide for bad debts. The company is to provide for bad debts, provision for bad debts, yes? The company is to provide for bad debts at a rate of 2% of accounts receivable of 43,600. So we need to find 2% of 43,600. When we find 2% of 43,600, we are going to get 872. Okay. Now, provision for bad debts and profit and loss. Again, we are not writing any narratives because the question said there is no need to write it. So 2% of 43,600 is giving me 872. And it's going to be provision for bad debts. Provision for bad debts. And here it's going to be, okay, so I need to bring this around. Here is going to be 872, as I said, and on this side is going to be 872. I need to adjust my tables. As you see, it's all right, so I'll write it in. So it's going to be 872. And the third transaction reads, the third entry was the company had paid the sum of 18,000 to its landlord to cover the rent for a year and a half. So they paid 18,000 to cover the rent for a year and a half. Okay. So how many months are there in a year and a half? There are going to be 18 months in a year and a half. So that tells me that they are paying $1,000 a month for rent. Okay, and the company had paid, they had paid this 18,000, so they would have paid for the year. So we will have to remove 12,000 for that year, and then they would have paid an additional 6,000 as a prepayment for the next year. Okay, so our entry will be rent prepaid, debit, and then profit and loss. So the figure was, as we said, it's going to be 6,000. And then we total this side. Both sides are going to give us, okay, the same figures. Mind my lines, y'all. All right, and when we add up our balances on this side, we're going to get 8,372, 8,372. Again, for this question, no narratives was required. Okay, and this is the end of question 1 on the May-June 2017 paper 2, accounts paper 2. Now let's go to question 2. I'm showing you all the questions from the past paper. I'll scroll down first to see question 2. Hi, Latasha. Question 2. Orelda's Unisex Hair Salon and Phoenix Processors. So this is information for Orelda's Unisex Hair Salon. They present the following accounts from her ledger. Okay, the information here given: purchases, hair products, motor vehicles, easy motor companies, and wages, also 6%, 5-year bank loan. Now, what does this question want us to do with all the information that was given? Let's see. They say, using the accounts on page 8, give one example. Give one example of each of the following types of accounts. So we're going to go through the accounts and list one example of each of those accounts. So again, these are our accounts here, and we want to list one example of each of these accounts. This is question 2. Right, so the first type of account we have here is a nominal account. Latasha, could you identify which one of you? Are you seeing this clearly, or should I zoom in? Should I zoom in? Are we seeing that better? They want one example of each of these accounts. So an example of the nominal account would be wages. All right, so our nominal accounts would be things like our expenses, income statements, anything from our income statements. So it would be wages. I'm seeing wages here, so wages will definitely. We're writing wages here. An example of a nominal account in this case is wages. An example of a personal account would be her hair products. Let's see what we have. Emily's hair products. Anything else after wages? What do we have? Let's just double check the question again. Make sure we're selecting the correct one. Okay, we have a 6% 5-year bank loan there. All right, so an example of personal account would be Emily's hair products. Current liability account. An example of the current liability account would be Emily's. Let's see what we have here for Emily's. Emily's hair products as well would be an example of a current liability account. Okay. Non-current asset account, motor vehicle. Non-current asset, motor vehicle would be our example here. Long-term liability, that was the last account we saw, wasn't it? We saw one with a 6% 5-year bank loan. So this would be our example of a long-term liability account. Okay, so let's write that in. 6%. Oops. Five-year bank loan. 5-year bank loan. All right, so these are the examples for each type of account. Now we're going on to the second part of this question. Part 2 of this question. Part 2 of this question is asking us, here's what they're saying. They're saying the space provided on the form below, write a narrative to explain each transaction identified by the date it occurred. Okay, so the first date we have is the first. Now we need to look at the transactions and look for the first. Where is the first transaction on the first? Is here. So they want a narrative for this. So a narrative for this, as we can see, the third transaction on the first, a balance brought forward. So our narrative can be as simple as that. Okay, balance brought forward for motor vehicle. Okay, so balance brought forward for motor vehicle. Okay, so that's going to be the narrative for this transaction. Now let's see the next. On the 3rd of May, let's see what happens on the 3rd of May. Okay, we have Easy Motors. Okay, in the motor vehicles account, we have Easy Motors. We are seeing a debit entry of 40,000 as well as a credit entry of, let's shift this a bit so we can see what the value is. Okay, so Easy Motors, we have debit. Okay, Easy Motors, right, good. So we have that debit entry of 25 on the 3rd. Oh, you see how much things happening on the 3rd? On the 3rd of May, let me circle them. What is happening on the 3rd of May? What is happening on the 3rd of May? I'm just highlighting it for us to see, so that way we can write a proper narrative for it, right? On the 3rd of May, on the 3rd of May. All right, so what we see happening here, we see there was a return. I can see here that there was a return of 15, Easy Motors Company, there's a return of $15,000 for this company, as well as I can see that motor vehicle was bought on credit from this company, Easy Motors. All right, so I'll give you all 2 narratives that can work for this question. So the first one will be returns. I am describing the transaction I'm seeing. So the first one is returns of 1,500, 1,500 worth of motor vehicles, whatever they bought there, to Easy Motors. All right, or another narrative that can work here is bought motor vehicle on credit from Easy Motors Company. Okay, y'all seeing that? So those 2, either one of those narratives will work for this transaction. Now they're telling us they're drawing our attention to a transaction on May the 6th. What is happening on May the 6th? Okay, so let's scroll a bit and see what is happening on May the 6th. On May the 6th, oh, I see. On May the 6th, drawings of 250. So a simple narrative for this transaction would be owner withdrew. Okay, not seeing that. I'll write it over. Owner withdrew $250. Why? Worth of products for personal use. All right. $250 worth of products for personal use. Okay. The last one is the 7th of May. Let's see what happened on the 7th of May. Scrolling down towards that. On the 7th of May, in the wages account, we see a debit entry of $1,550. So a narrative that can work for this is that the owner took out $1,550 of capital to pay wages. All right. So that narrative can work for here. Let's write that in. So the owner took $1,500 of capital for wages. Okay, you all? Right. Now, this question is not finished. This question, yes, I know some of these questions can be a bit long, but this paper, we can agree that it's not as tough as it looks. Once you know the content, it's really going to be simple. Okay, so we are going on to part B of this question. We're going to go on to part B of this question. Part B of this question reads, Phoenix Processors, I'm reading here, part B. Phoenix Processors records its weekly cash flow in the format below. The records are for the first week in the month of July 2016. Okay, this is the entries, debit, credit entries. Okay, what kind of entry is the one made on the 3rd of July 2016? Let's look for that. The 3rd of July 2016. What is happening here? What is happening here? As we can see here, what kind of entry is made here? This is a contra entry, an entry where both the cash and bank are affected. Okay, this is an example of a contra entry, and you'll get 1 mark for answering that question. So it's a contra entry. Okay, let's read the next part of the question. It says, they gave us further more information, cash and bank transactions for Phoenix Processors. I'm reading here, cash and bank transactions for Phoenix Processors for the remainder of July are as follows. So they gave us the rest of the transactions for that month. Now let's determine what the question wants us to do. Okay. They said using the form, now they did give you, and I'll show you, the form is on the past paper. They did rule up the cash book for you. So they say using the form on page 11, prepare the cash book of Phoenix Processors for the month of July, right? Including the transactions for the first week. Okay. So we are going to use all the information that was given, and we are going to create our cash book. So on the first, again, they did give you the paper. The sheet was already ruled up for you. So you'd have just had to, write in your information, read the question, take out your information, and complete your cash book. Okay. So the first transaction, we have our balances on the first to bring down. So I'm going to type that in instead of writing it in. I'm going to type that in. So we have on the first, we can see here opening balances for cash and bank. Okay, so we have here on the first, we have balance. Should I zoom up my screen as I write in the transactions? I'm not too sure how much of you all are seeing it clearly, like very, very clearly. I need you all to see the dates as well. We need the dates to be able to put in the information. All right, so are we seeing it good? We're seeing it okay, fine. So for the first transaction, our opening balance, on the first, we have our balance brought down. And the balance brought down, our debit entry is 2,350. Again, where am I getting that information? It's right here. I'm reading exactly what they give me. Okay, so it's that figure of 2,000, I'm typing it in. 2,350. What else was given on the first? We had a balance brought down, a credit entry of 11,890. So we have our balance brought down. Credit entry. So cash was 2,350 and bank is 11. So I have to put that in bank. 11,890. Okay. What's next? After this, on the third, we have a, let's see, let's go back. I want to keep looking at the question to see. Good, we have cash sales. So we have cash and sales. So sales and the total is 25,690, 25,690. Good. What else happened on the third? Cash. You see deposited cash in bank. Both a credit and a debit entry. So on the third, cash. This is our contra entry here. And bank is going to be 25,000. And on the third here, we are going to put our bank and the same figure, 25,000. Bank and cash, 25,000. Okay. I hope you all see this. Okay. What happened on the 5th? We have purchases paid by check. Okay, so paid by check. So we're going to have purchases paid by check, or payments are going to come on this side, or receipts are going to come on this side. Okay. So purchases, the figure was 10,000. $470. Next transaction. On the 5th again, cashier withdrew cash from bank. Cashier withdraws cash from bank. We have a debit and a credit entry. So on the 5th here, we're going to have bank 1,170. And we have on this side as well, cashier withdraws cash from bank. Cash is going to be same amount, 1,170. Okay, we're almost done with our cash book. That's it for the 5th. So we need to scroll down and see the rest. We have now transactions from the 8th to the 29th. So owner withdraws on the 8th, owner withdraws cash from bank to pay his house rent. Okay, so again, payments is going to come on this side. So that's going to go on the drawings. Okay, and the amount was 8,000. Again, where did the owner withdraw it? From bank. So it has to be here. 8,000. Next transaction on the 9th, debtor S. Francis paid with a check for 2,000 and the remainder in cash. So the debtor S. Francis paid with a check for 2,000 and the remainder in cash. So 2,050. So he paid, let's put his name here on the 9th, S. Francis. Payments on this side, S. Francis. He paid 2,000 bank, and they told us the remainder in cash. And if the total amount is 2,050, then 2,000 will be in bank and 50 will be in cash. Okay. That's the 9th. Transaction on the 10th. Says here, cash sales deposited immediately into the bank account. Cash sales deposited immediately in the bank account. So on the 10th, we're going to have sales here. And immediately into the bank, the amount was 31,110. That's the transaction for the 10th. Now on the 11th, of July, we have payment to creditor, so it's going to be on this side, payment to creditor, and the amount, his name is Davis, S.J. Davis. J. Davis, and the amount is 9,900. Sorry, I'm writing it in the wrong place. I'm shifting it around so we can see it in bank, 9,900. Okay. The next transaction is on the 18th. It says purchases paid for by bank's credit card. So on the 18th, transaction is going to be on this side. Purchases paid for by bank's credit card. So we're going to have purchases. The amount was 12,000. Bank is going to be 12,000. On the 25th, we have cash sales. Cash sales, and the amount in cash is 6,840. On the 29th, we have wages paid in cash. So on the 29th of July, wages paid in cash. So it's going to be, the amount is 4,500. Cash, 4,500. Okay, good. Let's see if we have any other information. No, that's it. Using this information, prepare your cash book. We have all the information. Now we need to add up and put in our balances. Okay, when we total this side, which is more, okay, when we total this side, we're getting a total of 36,100. On this side, scrolling down because I'm adding it up. The total on this side is 58,110. Sorry about that. Let me write this back. So again, the total for here was 36,100. On the cash, the total here was 58,110. Balance here is going to be, okay, I need to insert I need to write it here because I need space for my balance brought down figure. Okay. So my total here is going to be 36. I added it up. I added it already. So you can double check my math. 58,110 on the 31st, subtracting of July. Our balance carried down figure after subtracting. Our balance carried down figure is 6,600. All right, and then this is July, so yes, it will be August, the 1st. So the 1st of August. We're going to have our balances brought down. And that's going to be the 6,600 and the 4,680. which is the balance carried out for this side. 4,680. Okay. Now this is it for our cash book. I hope you all are able to see it clearly. This is it for our cash book. Any questions, anything you saw that was probably off during this live, feel free to comment below and bring it to my attention. Okay, so this is the end of questions 1 and the questions 2 in the 2017 May-June past paper. Okay, you all. So thank you all for joining me tonight on this live. We will continue this paper live. Before the end of the week, we would complete the other parts, the other questions, the other 3 questions that is remaining. We are going to complete them. So again, thanks to everyone who joined me. Be sure to like, comment, and share for those who may really need to go through the solutions to POA PAST